Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome to Just a Little Clueless with Genesis Brown, where I interview people with various backgrounds and perspectives on the ins and outs of the dating life and how to navigate through it as a young adult. Because I don't know about you, but I'm a little clueless. And if you're listening to this show, you probably are too. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hi, welcome to Just a Little Clueless. It's Genesis, and today we're going to be talking about long-distance relationships. I'm joined with
Giselle from Millennium Mix.
Hello, it's good to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
I am excited as well. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, your age, if you feel comfortable saying your age, but kind of a little bit.
Obviously, yes. So, obviously, I'm a student here at UND, majoring in communications and minoring in Spanish as well. I am from Northwest Indiana, which is like the Chicagoland area, about 2.5 hours north from here. And I've been dating my boyfriend for about, I have to do the math, about a year and 6 months, I want to say.
Okay.
I think a year and 7 months.
Nice.
Yes.
That's so good. So how did you and your boyfriend meet?
Yeah, so obviously his name is Adrian. I forgot to mention that, but we went to high school together, and he was a really good friend of mine in high school, and we just got really, really closer. But unfortunately, I was put in the friend zone. He had 2 girlfriends throughout high school, very serious relationships, and he dated one even after high school, but that ended within maybe in December. We graduated in June, so it ended in December. And, he was single for a while. Actually, I take that back. He ended it around May of the following year. And so he was single for a while. And, me and him were really good friends, so we just caught up like normal. And then we kind of realized, we had feelings for each other. And what's funny about me liking him, because I met him my sophomore year. Yeah. We really got close sophomore year. And this was during second semester, beginning of second semester. And I remember, I just got out of, not really a relationship, but a really bad heartbreak. So I was telling my friend Emily in class, I'm done with men. I'm not even going to think about them, forget them. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he just walks into class. I'm like, damn. Yeah. Here we go again. But, yeah, we've been together ever since.
So when you were in high school and you started being friends in sophomore year, but, have you liked him from that until now? Not necessarily you were waiting, but, have you kind of always had him in the back of your mind, oh, if that happened, I wouldn't be mad?
Yeah, honestly. So I started liking him probably around spring break of sophomore year. So that was around March, close to April. But at the time, he was in a relationship, and I never liked someone who was dating someone. So obviously, I did not want to ruin anything between him and his girlfriend at the time, even though she was the textbook definition of the worst girlfriend. I'm talking about clingy, mean, hates everybody, won't let him talk to anybody. Yeah. So, you could tell in his eyes that he was getting, he was tired of her shenanigans, so over it. And for me, just, I don't know, man. I liked him really bad. Yeah. It was, obviously you saw something there. And I thought, and at the time, I could see that he started liking me back. Yeah. But I didn't want him to be unfaithful to his girl or anything like that. So they still continued to date till about, second semester of junior year. That's when they broke up. And at the time, I still liked him, but I realized, I need to get over it. Yeah. Because he's obviously still dating this horrible person. But he was always, like what you said, he was always on the back of my mind because I was starting to like somebody new. I know. So, it's all at once. So I started liking someone new my junior year of high school towards, the end. And I liked him really, really bad. this guy who I'll just call Jay.
Okay, Jay.
That's just his nickname for now. And I liked him over the summer and leading into senior year. And then I just got over him. I'm like, it's not going to happen. That's a whole story in itself.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started liking my boyfriend towards the end of the school year. And then that's when I realized he was in a relationship again. So it's like,
like wrong time. But it's like, it's good. It's like crazy to see, like, if you like someone, just be patient. It's not always a no.
True.
And there's a lot of situations where people have feelings for someone, and then there's always seems to be someone in place, and you're like, wait, when is my turn?
Exactly.
But I feel like patience, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And they always say that, and it's clear that it came back around in a circle, and now here you two are today.
Which is still like, wow. Like, I'm very grateful to say, like, not a lot of girls, or not just girls in general, just people in general, say, like, how do I say it? Like, they don't, you know, they finally got the guy that they were hoping for. Like, you know, those classic, like teenage
usually it doesn't
movies,
always end so
right.
happy. You really did get the guy.
It all came full circle, and
now here you are a year and 7 months later.
It's insane. I'm just like, wow.
So was this your first relationship?
Oh yeah. I have never been in a relationship before. I've had crushes that felt like a relationship, and then they break your heart really bad, and it's like a breakup, and you're just like, damn. But yes, this is my first relationship. Obviously, it's not his first. He's had 2 serious girlfriends before, and he has like casual girlfriends here and there, but that's when he was younger. They just hold hands. That was about it. I don't know if you would count that. Would you count that?
I think that's like pre-dating, like when you're kids and you just say, hey, I like you. Let's be boyfriend, girlfriend, and then you just live life and don't even talk or something of that sort. So how long, so we already talked about how long you've been dating for. So when the relationship began, did you know it was going to be a long distance relationship from the start, or was it something that happened as you were already dating?
Yes, that's a good question. So we started talking of September of 2019. Yes, 2019. You know, just talking back as friends, building that friendship back again. And then that's when I admitted to him, like, I don't know if you know this, but back in high school I had such a huge crush on you. And he's like, I did too. So it's like, why didn't you tell me? We went through all this and you could have just told me. So obviously, you know, we still started talking. And one thing that people do have to realize about my boyfriend is that he's in the military. So he's in the Army right now. He's been in the Army since we graduated high school. So this year will be his 3rd and final year.
Okay.
So that's yay. Yeah. So I already knew ahead of time, you know, the time frame. You know, he's in Texas. I'm here in Indiana. That was a huge factor. So it was really, you know, nerve-wracking. And then he came back around December that year, just for to go on leave and such, just to come back home. And that's when I saw him in person after a while, and we had our first date, and it went really well. And you know, we still continue to be friends, still talking. I think we didn't really make it official till April of 2020 during COVID.
Oh, okay.
So I know a lot of people are like, COVID brought nothing good out. I mean,
Not
for me,
for you.
Exactly, it got me a relationship, so I can't complain about that at all.
Yeah, but I feel like you definitely had a lot of patience then, because if you're only able to see him every once in a while, every few months or however that is, like, it is hard to do that first date thing, because people talk about the talking stage and, oh, after 3 months we should be dating. But for you, it could be very different, because you could be talking for a few months but have only had a few dates, so it's kind of hard to gauge. But also, I guess you did both know each other, so it may be a little bit easier. But you weren't, you've never had a romantic relationship until now.
Right. Yeah. It definitely, I think with knowing him, it made it a lot easier. If it was someone I didn't know, I think,
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have even worked. But
Yeah.
since this is someone I know, someone who I was really good friends before, I just always, listen to your gut. I always had that gut feeling, like, I just feel like, and I'm not trying to get all religious here, but I feel like if God sends you a person in your life, that's meant to be, then it's meant to be. And I really think it was meant to be. And I think it was perfect timing, too.
Exactly. Perfect time, perfect place. Were you ever hesitant to get into your relationship because of the distance, because you knew that he was already in the military? Were you ever taken a step back and reevaluated it, or were you sure?
That's a good question. And honestly, for me, it wasn't really about long distance because obviously we met each other, we know each other, we kind of know a lot about each other. It was more about trust because, it is long distance. I'm not with him in Texas. I don't know exactly what he's doing all day, every day.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know he works and hangs out with his guys, but I don't know if there's another female in the picture. And then he had the same thoughts as me as well. So it was really about trust, honestly. And, we both he came from a really bad, horrible breakup where it was just very hard for him to trust. And he still does to this day. He overthinks a lot. So it has been difficult for him. And then for me, obviously, I've never been in a relationship.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had some heartbreaks and people lied to me. And that was the last thing I wanted to happen, was for him, to lie or not be trustworthy, because, that would be awful.
That is hard. So if someone is thinking of getting into a long distance relationship, or if they are in one or in the process, do you think that they should be reserved or kind of just go for it like you did?
That is a good question. I can't speak for everybody themselves.
Yeah.
I know for me, honestly, I just went for it.
Yeah.
Because once again, you got to listen to your gut. I know long distance is really not easy. But if you really feel strongly about this person, you will do everything in your power to not only make them happy, but just make the whole relationship work.
Yeah.
And honestly, just as big as, as much as people say it, communication is really key. Having that relationship, talk about everything. Talk about, your bad days, your good days. Not everybody's going to have them. There's going to be arguments. We do have some not really big arguments, but we do talk about that stuff. I know in the beginning for both of us, that was a really, huge factor, was just trust. And, for my friends and family, when I slowly told them about I'm in a long distance relationship, a lot of people, they were concerned. Obviously, they already knew that we were friends, but they were concerned, he's in the military. He often gets deployed or goes to countries and stuff. It's very hard with the time zone difference. Like, for example, he went to Poland during COVID, and he also went to South Korea as well. So obviously that's a huge time difference from Indiana. So obviously just waking up every morning, I would wake up, he would go to bed, but we would talk, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
So we did make it work, which it was not easy at all.
Yeah.
Just the time zone difference. I would, set an alarm to wake up even earlier just to talk to him before he goes to bed, and he would do the same for me as well. So, yeah, a lot of people just doubted us. They didn't think that we were going to work.
That's hard to hear
Exactly.
especially when you're like, okay, well, I have feelings for this person. Just in your case too, you've known him for such a long time, but also it's kind of like been in the back of your mind. So the fact that, people who you're close to are telling you, "Ooh, well, I don't think that's going to work," it's kind of like hard. And then already you're separated for such an amount of time.
Exactly.
So would you say that that was the biggest difficulty when it comes to your relationship so far? Do you have any other situations that you've been in that was a little harder than you expected?
Yes, for sure. I know that, when we first started talking, I went to community college before I came to UND, just to take the gen ed classes. So obviously those classes, and plus I worked, but it wasn't like, too overwhelming or anything like that. And obviously the gen ed classes, they were just easy. Just notes, quizzes, done. But when I transferred to U Indy, and I knew I was going to be very involved with the communication department, obviously with radio and newspaper and all those other things, it was a bit difficult because there's some times where, you're so consumed with your job and just doing homework on top of that, that sometimes you don't even feel like talking to anybody. You just want to be
you just want to go to bed
left alone, or you're just exhausted. And sometimes, I would feel bad because we talk every single day, especially around the nighttime, just explaining, how our days went and such. And there are some days where I just, obviously I like to talk a lot, but there are some days where I'm just like, eh.
Yeah.
And he was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm just honestly, I don't feel like talking, School was a little bit, rough and just tiring, and I have so much homework assignments to do. And I know with, I'm very grateful to be the digital media manager for the radio station and sports editor for our newspaper, university's newspaper, The Reflector, and obviously having those two huge jobs along with schoolwork and just completing, doing your extracurricular activities and making time for yourself and friends. It's a balancing act for me, and which I'm still getting used to. Obviously, we're still, at the beginning of the school year, so we're still getting used to it. But it's just been really busy, and I know lately he's been kind of feeling that I keep pushing him off to the side. I know that's the last thing I want to do, and just honestly, communication, like what I said earlier, is just a huge key. Just be honest, just be open. So it has been a bit difficult lately, but the love is still there. And we talk things out.
Yeah, that's good to have. I feel like it's so weird because I'm not in a relationship. I've never been in a relationship, but I already know that to be in one, it takes a certain amount of energy. And then like when it comes to not being able to see each other, like making that time throughout the day, I could see how that would be difficult, especially like some days you just want to not talk.
Right.
But then you haven't talked already. So then it's like, well, this is our time that we talk, and you have to kind of, bring it in, woosah, and just like get yourself to like be okay so that they don't feel like, some type of way about it. So I can understand how that is like very difficult do. What made you decide to continue this long distance relationship? Because I'm sure this isn't like something you initially wanted, especially this is your first relationship. I'm sure you didn't like want this per se, but what really made you say, okay, I'm going to put aside this uncomfortable time in my life to do this?
Yeah, so for me, this just came unexpectedly. Like, I was not expecting this at all. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I was, like, at the point where I'm, like, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to put myself out there.
Yeah.
And it came back, and, man, we always talk about the future together. Yeah. He's always telling me, he sees a future with me, vice versa for me as well. So we're always talking about that, and, it's really exciting. I think that's why, we want to pursue this even more, because we're very serious about each other. I mean, through all, like, the doubt that people, express to us, like, oh, I don't think this is going to work out. I think you need to move on. The love is still there, and, like, what his brother is always telling me, honestly, you guys have such a beautiful connection, beautiful chemistry with each other.
Yeah.
And just the love, like how both of you guys, get so excited to see each other.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just the future together. That's just what pushes me further in the relationship.
Yeah. That's, like, so lovely to have, especially I don't know. It's just like, it's good to hear that you have that, like, keeping you going, because nowadays, even to just start a relationship, minus the long distance, just to start a relationship is difficult when it's, for me, like with men, because there's always like something. It's very like delayed or elongated. Right. The talking stage has been pushed from 5 months. Like, it's like to a year. Like, I'm not talking to somebody for a year before we start dating, you know?
Exactly.
So that's already difficult in no distance. So the fact that you were able to kind of push things along. When did you make it official? When did he ask you, or did you ask him?
So we obviously FaceTime every day, and this was during the pandemic, and he was at Poland at the time. So the time difference was kind of a bit, you know, big as well. So we just FaceTime one day, and then we both like started talking. It was really him who brought it up. He's like, so are we making things official yet? And I'm like, okay, like, this is weird. Like, oh my gosh, this is like happening. The person that I've liked since sophomore year, and now it's finally happening, which is weird. So we were like, we said both to each other, like, promise we won't break each other's hearts or anything like that. And we were like, I promise. And that's how it went. And then I remember, you know, like, being in shock, like, I just can't believe it. I didn't want to tell a lot of people at first, because I'm like, you know, what if I tell them and it ends in like a week or two or something like that? Like, that's scary. Not what I wanted to do. But I told my parents, because obviously they've been knowing that I've talked to him for quite some time. They're like, well, finally it's happened. Same with my sister. Then slowly telling friends. But for both of us, we're kind of very private when it comes to our relationship. We don't really post too much on social media. We do slightly here and there, but you know, I don't want everybody to know. But at the same time, I don't mind if they know. I have nothing to hide. This is the person I love.
How often do you see each other in person?
Oof. So that's just, it's honestly sad, but I've seen him about 3 times. So when we first started talking, like I said earlier, we started talking around September, and he didn't come home till December. And he was there for 2 weeks. So that was one time. And then right before I moved out here for college, the week before, he stayed a week, you know, back at home with me. And that was just only for a week. And then, you know, over the summer, for basically the whole month of May, he was at home. So I got to see him a lot. But it's hard, man, because I genuinely do miss him. I miss, you know, hugging him and just holding him. So it's really hard, but when we're together, we obviously have to make the best of those moments, spend time with each other. One of my favorite dates that I've had with him, because we're just very simple people, but I really want to take him out more. Yeah. Because he always gets bored at his house, but I want to take him out. So I took him to the amusement park Six Flags right by my house, and we had a lot of fun. It was probably my favorite date that we've been on. Yeah. That just reminded me of those, like, coming home videos, like, where they, like, I'd be crying. If I ever saw you two reunite, I would be crying. I'd be over there, like, bawling. Those are so cute to me. When we see, I always get nervous. I'm like, hi. He's like, why are you nervous? I'm like, I don't know. It's been so long. I'm just a really goofy person, so I like, you know, slapping him or just, like, you know. So I always get nervous. I don't know why. I mean, it makes sense, though. Like, if you have that space, like, you haven't seen, in general, you haven't seen someone in a long time, you're like, oh, my gosh, like, you know. But I think it's also super cool that, like, you know, you have each other in the end, because even in those moments where you're like, you miss him or you miss this, you're like, okay, but he is mine and I'm his, and we're good to go. I don't want me to get a little sad or whatever, but sometimes I'll be like, oh, I wish I was in a relationship. And you're making me feel bad. No, you're making me not in a bad way, but sometimes I'm like, like, you know, even though if you don't see that person every day, just that security of knowing that you have someone and they have you is a nice feeling. And sometimes I'll be like, dang. But then, you know, I'll be living my single life, I guess, so it's whatever. You're living your best life, girl. You are killing it out here. Thank you. You don't need a man. Honestly, no. So you've only seen each other
I guess, 3 types of occasions, but
Yeah.
multiple times. Do you have a set day, stuff planned in your calendar for more so talking to each other? Like, what's your schedule like when it comes to talking?
Like on the phone?
Yeah, on
every
the
day?
phone, yeah.
Oh, we try to do it every single day, obviously in the morning, right before, because he has PT, which is, physical training in the morning,
Yeah.
and when he's done. And then obviously I just got up, as I'm getting ready for school. So we obviously communicate there. Sometimes when I'm not too busy or he's not too busy, we'll communicate in like the afternoon during like a lunch break or something.
Yeah.
And then obviously always at night. If we can't do that, always at night. Always have to talk to him right before I go to bed.
So it sounds like you two have a pretty good thing going, but I feel like for some people who aren't good with scheduling, what is some advice you'd have to them? Because it is important to talk to them,
Of course.
even if you're not long distance. Like if I go weeks without seeing or talking to my significant other, there's a problem. So how would you suggest someone handle scheduling those difficulties?
Just communicate. Communicate's the biggest thing. How I said earlier, there's some days where we're both extremely busy, but we'll still try to make time just to talk to each other. Even if you're both extremely busy, if you can talk to each other for maybe like a minute or close to 5 minutes, it's something better
than nothing
at all.
I feel like those little things mean a lot. Even just a
Yes.
simple text
Yes.
is a lot. And
Exactly.
if it's not there, not saying that wouldn't work for someone, but I do think it's very rare that both people in the relationship are both those types of people. Because I know some people are a little less communicative and some are a little more, and some people need more attention than others, but it's very unlikely that both of you just like, I'm good with talking to you every 2 weeks. I'll see you next week.
Do that.
So
I
I
definitely
definitely,
cannot do that.
when I hear long distance, I think it's pretty intimidating.
Right.
Is it difficult? Is it as difficult as people make it out to be?
That's a really good question. For me, I cannot speak on behalf of everybody. But I feel like if you truly love someone, and they love you, I don't think it'll be hard.
Yeah.
I think if you have the time and love for this person, you'll find a way to make it work. He was literally in 2 different countries within like different, month spans. And we still, made time, even if that means waking up extremely early.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that. I was tired, but it was worth it. I got to talk to him, and same for him too. So honestly, if you truly love this person and if you really envision a future with them, you will make it work regardless of the situation.
Do you have like any trust issues, or did you have any like insecurities or anything?
Of course. Obviously, I don't now. We're at the point where we do trust each other. Sometimes there are times where we often overthink, maybe at times.
Yeah.
But once again, communicating and
that's
reassuring that everything's fine, we'll get through it. But yeah, for both of us at the beginning, it was a lot of
That's
trust
hard.
issues at first because, a lot of females at the time, let me rephrase that. Not a lot of females, but a couple females liked him at the time. And some were kind of like getting like flirty. I'm like, oh no, you are not going to come from my man's like that.
You better back up.
Exactly. Back up. Get out. But it definitely was at first. But once, we started talking more and started becoming more serious about pursuing a relationship,
Those things are kind of not.
they just went
not
away.
there. I think it's natural. Instead of hiding it, address it. Like
Right.
address it with your partner, because you don't want that to be there forever, or
Of
like be
course.
preventing you from, even, you may not think it's a problem, but resentment and like little things that you're like, I'm just gonna not say anything, that will come up. What is your best advice for tackling those tough conversations?
Oof. Just be honest. There's no need to lie, especially if you're pursuing long distance. Honesty is the best policy.
Yeah.
But, for us, we don't fight. I don't think we don't fight. We don't yell at each other. We talk things out. We're in our 20s. We're mature
Exactly.
now.
We're
There's
grown.
no need to yell. Just talk things through. one of our rules for each other is to never go to bed angry or sad. And we try to talk until everything's, taken care of, under control, and then we'll go to bed.
Yeah. So now it's time to get into what would you do situations. So I'm going to read two scenarios for you. Okay. And you just kind of answer. Tell me what you would do if you're in that position.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh. So you and your partner sit down to have a serious conversation about where your relationship is going, and you realize they don't ever want to get married. Would you end the relationship?
That is a really good question. Oh, wow. I don't know. Dang, Genesis, you stumbled me. You got me. I might. I mean, for me, it depends on the situation.
Okay, so do you want to be married? Like, is that something you envision?
I would love to be married.
So that's like a big boom. If they're like, no, never. But then you're like, oh, but I love you. But you're like, never. Like, it's kind of like, well, I want to be married.
Unless, like, if they have fears or something that can easily be talked out of. For me, it just depends on the situation.
Yeah.
But if they say straight up honestly, like, no, I don't want to marry you, I'm probably going to end it there. What about you?
I think I would too, because why not? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, why don't you want to be committed to me for the rest of your life?
Right.
Like, there's things you could dig up. If they're, like, hesitant to marry you, then it means, like, do you really love me? Do you really,
Right.
I think it's people who don't want to do that have commitment issues to the max, because it's like they want to be able to leave if they need to. And marriage is a lot more, I mean, obviously there's divorces, but it's a lot more difficult to just be like, oh, bye, because you have things at stake, and that kind of pushes you to keep things going. And without that, I feel like that's probably why that would happen.
Right.
But, okay, so the next question is, you've been with your partner for a little while when you find out they cheated in their last relationship. Ooh. It wasn't because they were unhappy or there were problems in the relationship. It's just they just slipped up. Would you break up with them?
For me, once again, it just depends on the situation. Well, I mean, you kind of basically just said the situation.
If they just, like, cheated because they're like, oh, I just want to cheat. Like,
that is a huge red flag that I think before going into the relationship, if they told me, which I would like for them to, because I ask a lot of questions, I'm very, invasive, like, what? Yeah. But if they told me, I'd be a little bit cautious at first. I believe that people grow up and, people make mistakes, but they learn from them. I'm just too nice of a person. I think I might just stay. Obviously, that was the last relationship. Yeah. But if it happens to me, I feel like it would happen to me if that.
I feel like I'm
you
like.
You stumbled me, Genesis.
I feel like I'm the total opposite. I'm so. This may offend somebody, but I do not trust cheaters. In the story, like,
true.
If you're a cheater, don't talk to me. Like,
okay, that's fair.
I just feel as though we can't go on here. Like, you're cool. You could be a cool person. I just will never be in a relationship with you. Like, it just, I don't know. That's too much. Maybe it's like too many fears, and it's. I just feel like once you're a cheater, always a cheater.
True. Okay, I'll give you that. To me, I'm just too nice, but
I feel like mine was too mean. So
no, you're good. I'm like in the middle. I don't know for this one. I probably would dump them, but I want to hear their reason.
Yeah.
You have to prove to me that you're not a cheater anymore. But once a cheater, always a cheater.
Yeah,
so.
Especially if you just cheat because you just wanted to. Like,
that's messed up.
Not like, I don't know. I mean, there really isn't a way that, I feel like, how many other situations could you be in where it was an accident? Like,
that's messed up.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a no for me, but everybody's different.
I'm in the fence.
Yeah,
with
you're
this
in the
one.
middle. You're in the middle.
I'm
yeah,
just like,
it just depends on the situation for you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on Just a Little Clueless. I'm Genesis, and I will catch you all next week.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Just a Little Clueless, hosted by me, Genesis Brown. You can catch a new podcast episode every Friday, and you can also check out my website, www.justalittleclueless.com, for more information about me and my show's purpose. If you're interested in being a guest on my show, you can email me at justalittleclueless@gmail.com. So, until next week, peace out.